All right, so hang on 1 second. All right, here we go. We got YouTube up, we got Facebook up. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a late edition of Out of Turn 4 and a live edition of Out of Turn 4. Don't know what to expect with this one. It could go one way, it could go the other. We'll find out, of course, together. So I do want to apologize. Oh, and apparently I did not change the video image on YouTube. We will do that in just a moment. So my sincere apologies for that. And so, sorry, I'm still getting used to this whole live streaming thing. I don't do it very often, but coming up on the show, we are going to recap Texas. And of course, we're also going to talk some of the news in NASCAR, and then we will have our race picks. That's all coming your way. And of course, we won't have our picks for the Indy 500 today. That you will have to tune in on Friday for. And of course, it'll be around this time, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and that will be a pre-taped show. I just haven't had the time this week. I've been working the last 7 days, so I've kind of lost track of what day it is at this point. So, yeah, pretty tired, needless to say. But let's get going here. Let's start off with NASCAR at Dover. Stuart Friesen wins the NASCAR Texas, my mistake. Stuart Friesen, he won the truck race in overtime at Texas. It is his third career truck win and his first one since 2019 at Phoenix. And of course, big win for him, big win for his team. Congratulations to all of them. Of course, this is one they've been waiting for a really long time. And, you know, it's good to see guys like Stuart Friesen get to victory lane. Of course, it doesn't happen very often for teams like his, and it should happen way more often. No real thoughts on the race. I don't watch anything at Texas Motor Speedway. You know why, okay? I don't have to tell you why. And then, of course, on the NASCAR Xfinity side, Tyler Reddick got his first win of the season. Of course, I believe this is his first start since his championship season at Richard Childress Racing. It is also now the first win for Big Machine Racing. Of course, Tyler Reddick drove the 48 for Big Machine Racing this weekend, and that's always great to see them get a win. Of course, this team's worked very hard. They've had Jade Buford behind the wheel for, I believe, the first year and a half. It hasn't quite gone as expected. They do have cars coming from the RCR shop. So, of course, there were high expectations for this team. And now they bring in Tyler Reddick to kind of help them out, help them get situated. And it finally pays off, and they get their first win. Just big right there. We will go a little bit more in depth with this next race. Of course, we want to talk the NASCAR Cup race, the NASCAR All-Star race. Ryan Blaney wins the NASCAR Cup race at Texas. And of course, it did not come without controversy. Of course, coming to the checkered flag, Ryan Blaney was displayed the caution flag. Little did he know that he did not win the race, and he started to take his window net down. And of course, he raced the rest of that race with essentially half a window net, because he didn't rehook it. And to be honest, that caution, and it did lead to Denny Hamlin saying that they need to punish fairly. Of course, he said, though, the caution shouldn't have come out in the first place. But again, I agree here. I don't see any reason why that caution needed to come out. I did see some replays. I didn't watch the race. Keep in mind, again, I don't watch anything from Texas Motor Speedway. So, not much to say about that. Other than the caution should not have come out. Ryan Blaney should have won that race in regulation, not in overtime. and NASCAR really messed up that one. And it's no surprise. NASCAR seems to, mess up everything, and SMI really messed up Texas. But hey, that's a story for another day. But Blaney should have probably been black flagged. I know it wasn't, his fault, as NASCAR's not very direct with a lot of things. But again, no other thoughts than, the caution shouldn't have happened in the first place. If the caution didn't happen in the first place, the discussion of whether Ryan Blaney should have been black flagged or not wouldn't have happened. Of course, earlier in the race, though, Ross Chastain went for a little bit of a ride. Of course, he was spinning on the front stretch. Kyle Busch was trying to avoid him on the low side, was going 180-something miles an hour. There was about a 50-mile-an-hour difference between the two cars, and Ross Chastain gets slammed on the driver's side, goes airborne for a moment, and of course, his race ended on that. Not a great go for Trackhouse Racing at Texas, needless to say. But not enough can be said about the safety of these NASCAR Cup cars. And of course, that was the big question entering the season, the safety of these NASCAR Cup Series rides. Not enough can be said about it. They've done a great job throughout the years of making sure these drivers stay safe and these drivers don't get hurt. So kudos to NASCAR. They got one big win this week. Don't know what that was. But anyway, let's get on to the racing news. This is probably going to be a short show just because, again, the big show will be on Friday. We want to remind you. But anyway, the biggest news out of the garage today, actually, is from Trackhouse Racing, the aforementioned team. They will field a third car in 2023. I don't know if it's going to be full-time, part-time. I haven't read the details just yet, but they will be fielding a third car in 2023 as a Project 91 car for the NASCAR Cup Series. And of course, Project 91 is going to be their chance to aim to get international drivers into the NASCAR Cup Series. It is rumored that they will run a lot of races in 2023. Again, I don't know the full details, so please don't lambaste me just yet. I'm still kind of looking through it. Yeah, they'll run at least once during the rest of this Cup season. And it's expected that the name, so they're expecting to target one driver for one race during the rest of the Cup season. That international driver will participate in the and it will be announced in the next couple days. Trackhouse is looking to target Formula One, IndyCar, and sports car racing drivers. And of course, this is big, to have a ride like this in NASCAR is huge. To me, it just reminds me of the, what's it called? It just reminds me of the SRX All-Star car, essentially. And it's just great to see, It's really good to see Trackhouse having such an impact on our sport in only their second year in competition. And also to get these international drivers into the field, I think that's going to be huge for NASCAR. Again, if they can somehow recruit an F1 driver, that would be great. I know Ricardo has had interest in coming over to the States to race. I'm just speculating drivers now. On the IndyCar side, it wouldn't shock me to see one of the Chip Ganassi guys try to compete. It won't be Jimmy Johnson, though, so spoiler alert right there. But maybe someone like Scott Dixon coming over to the NASCAR side for a race. Maybe at Indy. That would be cool. If this race is at the Indy GP and Scott Dixon is put in the number 91, I think that would be insane, to say the least. Or even Hell, I'm just going to throw his name out there too. Alex Palou would be a great one to have behind the wheel. Alex Palou, of course, the defending IndyCar champion. I feel like those two are pretty high on that list. Again, not knowing any of the rumors as of right now as to who could drive that car this year. But I think having someone in the Indy, in the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard would be great because, again, IndyCar's already on that stage. And it would really be interesting from the standpoint of now, it's a true doubleheader. You got one guy that's running both the IndyCar and the NASCAR race. That would be huge. And of course, again, makes it kind of a true doubleheader finally. It would really bring up the ratings, I think, to have a guy like Dixon or Palou run that ride. And of course, keep in mind, Chip Ganassi Racing, that is the old Chip Ganassi Racing team. You know, Trackhouse is the old Chip Ganassi team. So there's no doubt Chip Ganassi would sign off and let one of his drivers do that. I feel like that's the likely possibility. Again, Ricardo would be interesting from F1. You know, maybe Kimi Räikkönen coming back. Of course, Kimi Räikkönen did run a few NASCAR races back in the day. I believe it was 2012 is when he ran in the NASCAR Truck Series and Xfinity Series with Kyle Busch Motorsports and Nemco Motorsports. So that would be an interesting choice too. I don't see Max Verstappen being a possibility. I absolutely don't see Lewis Hamilton being a possibility in the near future. But I feel like those two Chip Ganassi guys are potentially those guys that they would pursue. Unfortunately, because they did say international, you know, I know Joseph Newgarden has had serious interest in running like the Bristol night race, for example. But of course, I think the only way that's going to happen is if Team Penske does secure a fourth car for that race, and I just don't see him going to Trackhouse to run. Connor Daly, I don't see running that car, but again, you know, like I said, it's more going to be internationals, my understanding. So that is why I list those two guys as the top guys I'd like to see run. Because again, Alex Palou, the defending champ, Scott Dixon, a 6-time IndyCar Series champion, and might very well be on his way to his 7th. Who knows? We still got plenty of season left. We have the big race coming up this weekend, the double points at stake. So keep an eye on the Trackhouse stable in the coming days. We may actually have an announcement by the end of the week. That's a possibility. We won't be discussing it here, though, on Friday. But keep your eyes out. Let's get on to the picks. Not much news this week that we can talk about on this show. So starting with the Camping World Truck Series at Charlotte, of course, Kyle Busch is on the entry list. I think his luck changes, and I'm just going to keep picking him every single time he wants to run a truck race. So Kyle Busch for the Truck Series. For the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Charlotte, I'm going to go Daniel Hemrick. I feel like this is his race to win. I feel like this would be the chance for the defending champion to get to victory lane. On the Cup side, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. This has always kind of been Martin Truex Jr.'s big race. He's done really well in this race in the past. I think that continues this weekend. He will win the NASCAR Cup race at Charlotte. If not him, it will be a Joe Gibbs car. That I can bet on. Then, of course, we also have a pick for the Monaco Grand Prix. We haven't talked much F1 in this thing, and we do apologize for that. But for the Monaco GP, Max Verstappen's been reportedly getting his season back on track. I think he continues that this weekend in Formula One's biggest race. So again, F1 Monaco GP, it'll be on in the morning. Indy 500 in the afternoon on Sunday. This is all Sunday, by the way. So Monaco GP in the morning, Indy 500 early afternoon. Then we have the nightcap with the Coca-Cola 600. So you'll want to watch all this. Of course, as we enter the busiest weekend and the busiest and the biggest racing weekend in all of auto racing. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we are going to talk about the biggest event on the stage this weekend for Memorial Day weekend, in the biggest weekend for auto racing, the Indianapolis 500. That, of course, is Sunday at noon, but we will have our Out of Turn 4 Indy 500 special. That will come to you, of course, Friday night, this time. So stay tuned. Again, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. YouTube, Facebook watch. It won't be a live stream. Just so you know, it will not be a live stream. It will be a pre-taped show. I will have time to tape later this week. It's just kind of been early this week with how much I've been working. It's just been so tough to tape anything or to find time to do it. So my sincere apologies for that. But again, tune in this Friday. Next week, on Tuesday, we will recap the Indy 500. We'll recap the big racing weekend. We will not have a special to recap all that. It's just going to be one show Tuesday at 5, and then we'll be back on our normal schedule going forward. But this week, of course, again, special on Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I can't stress that enough. Be sure to tune in on both these platforms of which you are watching on. We want to thank you for watching, and we will see you then. Until Friday, everyone. Goodbye.